In this quick video, we're just going to talk about a few things that we can do to our files after we've uploaded them to Lightroom. Things like how to change the file name, how to update the metadata for something like copyright, how to create a folder so you can move images from one place to another, and then how can you add images to your Lightroom catalog if they already exist in another Lightroom catalog. It's really quick, it's really simple, but it's just slightly different than when we're coming from a memory card. So first off, we're back in this collection in my library here for the photo class. And these are all the images that I already imported. And when I imported them, I titled them all as Baghdad because that was the location that they were photographed at. Well, as it turns out, not all these images were actually photographed at Baghdad. Some of these other images were photographed in a different place. So I could leave them as, and I could, write a comment or just know that these photos exist in Baghdad. But I like to keep things streamlined, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rename these photos that were in a different location. And it's really simple. It's kind of the same procedure. I'm not going to delete them and then re-import them. Just here in the library module, I'm going to select the photos that were from a different location. So I'm going to start with the first one. I'm going to scroll down to the end, hold the Shift key, click on that last photo, and then now a large number of photographs are selected. Then over here on the right hand panel, under the metadata, I've opened that up. There's these arrows next to these words, and if you click on them, it opens them so you can see or adjust things. And the first thing on the top here, it says file name. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and I'm going to change the name on this. You see it's already preloaded with the title that I'm going to use, Newberry Springs, because that's the location where I photographed these. But you have other options you can use that we have when we're importing. But like I said, I like to keep things sequential. I like to rename them. So I'm going to go ahead and rename them Newberry Springs. Start number 1. And again, down here you can see where it says the example. It's showing me that all of the photos are going to be renamed. But only the photos that are selected. Any of the photos that were not selected, they're still going to stay Baghdad. I'm just changing these files. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then as it processes, you'll see now that when I click on one of these photos, it now has the new name. It now says Newberry Springs. It didn't change the rest of the metadata, it just changed the name of the file. Another option we have here in the metadata panel, since we have it open, is we can adjust the copyright information or all the information that we use when we import it. If you remember when we brought these images initially in, this was one of the options that we could have added. Well, if you didn't do that initially, or if something changes, you can do that again after the fact here. For example, like the copyright. One simple thing, you can always just add that it is a copyrighted photograph. But what you want to do is, say who it is. And you can fill it all out here, or you can actually have a preset. So I already have a preset. I'm going to select all of these photos. And just something simple, I'm going to click where it says there's nothing loaded. If I click on that, we see that there's already a couple set up presets. One for a business, one that's just something simple as copyright. And you can go in that same options that we have initially and add all of the information that you had when we brought these photos into Lightroom. I already have a quick one set, so I'm just going to go ahead and close that, don't save it, and I'm going to choose one that's already labeled copyright. And Lightroom's asking me if I want to do it to every photo that is selected. And I do, because I want to copyright all of my photographs. So again, we can see that the program is working through each image. And now, simply right here, it's copyrighted to me, the creator. The status is copyright, and I am the creator. So if you forget to do those in import, don't worry, you can do it after the fact. Same thing if you forget to file or name a file a certain thing, don't worry. It's really easy, you can do that after the fact. So now in my big folder of One City Block, I actually have 2 different locations. And again, for myself, I like to keep things separated. so that I know, like, when I'm looking for photos from Baghdad, I'm just going to go to a Baghdad folder. If I'm looking for photos from Newberry Springs, I'm just going to go to the Newberry Springs folder. So just like when we imported, we made a new folder. Well, you can make a new folder in Lightroom. And so since I have the folder highlighted here, right next to folders here on the left-hand side, I'm going to select this little plus sign. And I'm going to add a subfolder. So adding a subfolder means I'm going to add a folder inside this already created folder. I could create a whole brand new folder, but I want to keep these photos inside this same folder. So I'm going to go ahead and select Add Subfolder. And I'm going to go ahead and title this one Baghdad. And then click Create. And then now we see this arrow next to the folder, One City Block, has a drop down. And if we click on that, we see there's another folder in there that says Baghdad. So now what I want to do is I'm going to select this first photo, and then I'm going to scroll down to the last one. This little, I don't even know where this is. I'm going to go with this one. This is actually the end of Baghdad. So now I've selected these photos, and all I'm going to do is going to click on one, hold on the mouse, and then drag them right on top of that folder. And Lightroom is asking me if I really want them to move the photos, because the program's actually going to go into my hard drive and physically, as you can say, physically in the digital world, move those photos. So it's created a folder in my hard drive, and now it's moving these files on my hard drive as well. And since I made the folder and I want this move, I'm going to go ahead and click Move. And nothing happened. We're still in the library. We're seeing all the photos that we initially saw. And it's because we are on that initial folder that has all the photos. But if I click on the folder that says Baghdad, now all I see are the photos from Baghdad. So I just created a quick folder too. So I got them split up now. We have one for Baghdad, we have one for Newberry Springs, and then we're going to do one more. So I'm going to go back to my quick collection, because remember, this is where I did my top picks. These are my favorite photos. And if you notice, some of them are now rated with stars. And I know I said before I used the quick collection, but there's a reason why I rated my top picks with these stars, because I want to add one more folder to my big folder. I want to add a folder that has my top picks, because the quick collection, I'm going to be using this again. I'm going to add more photos to this scenario when I come back to these locations. And so I'll have different picks. So these are my first top picks. And here in the big mother folder, we'll call it, my top picks are skewed. They're random. So I'm going to come up here to my filters, and I'm going to turn on the ones that are rated. The ones that are rated 5-star or above. These are my top photos. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to select all of these photos, and I'm going to create one more folder. And I'm going to call these just for the sake of argument. And so now I created a folder that has my top picks, and it's pulling photos from both locations. And I'm going to go ahead and move those. And again, it's asking if I want to move it. So this way, I now have another folder that has the top photos from both locations from the same shoot that are separated. And they're still in, if I go to the big folder, they're all separated together. That doesn't make sense. You get what I mean. But then when I want to see just the photos that I'm going to edit, or that I already had edited, they exist right here. So that's how you do folders. Pretty simple. But let's say I wanted to add more photos to this catalog from a pre-existing catalog. Well, I'm going to go to my import button, and I'm going to find that source where those photos exist. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my hard drive, which is the Lightroom. I'm going to go into my images folder. As you know, there's the two folders inside my catalogs, my images, but the images is where I always import to. And there's some more photos that I want to use for this class as demonstration, and they're in another folder called Photo 215, same class, previous semester. And I'm going to be using these for different demonstrations, so I might as well just go ahead and add these as well. So again, it's the same parameters. Anything that is check marked is going to be imported. So up here in the center, we have these options. Again, add, move, copy, and copy as DNG. Well, they've already been imported to Lightroom. They've already been changed to DNGs. I don't need to copy them because I don't need to have two copies of the same file. And I don't necessarily want to move them because they're already attached to another catalog. I just want to add them to have the ability to adjust these photos in this catalog, which we see in the upper right. That's where they're going. It's not really doing anything. So all of these photos are highlighted. They're coming from my hard drive. They're staying in my hard drive. And I'm literally just adding them to this catalog. And same thing, up in the upper left-hand corner, you can see when they're adding. The add is much faster when you're already on the hard drive as opposed to pulling in and adding. And if you notice, it added more folders on the left-hand side. And you can see that there are even folders inside of folders now. And that's it. And that's how you can add photos to a pre-existing catalog. It's how you rename, it's how you can change some metadata. Pretty simple.